I'm Leo Gomez. I'm with Learn Your English, and today we are going to be talking about our motto, something that we truly believe is perhaps the pinnacle of the teaching business now. I think that's the idea that every teacher has a course in them. Hello everyone. Hey Michael, how are you? So every teacher has a course in them. So I have here a special guest who is going to be joining me today. I'm actually going to invite him to join me right now. Let me see if I can. I've invited him to join in so we can get the ball rolling. So to those of you who are here today watching this, we're going to be talking about the importance of building a teaching course. There he is.
Oh my God. Holy cow.
My headphones are not working. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Maybe it's me.
I only hear on one
Oh,
one
really?
side. Sorry, yeah, that's
Okay.
that's a weird thing. But anyway, all right. Well, we
Okay.
have a bunch of people in the house, so let's. I was actually first of all, Andrew, thanks for agreeing to do this. People complain that.
Surprise.
Yeah, people complain that like, we never see Andrew, we never see Mike. I said they are working
Oh,
on the
really?
back end of the company most of the time. You know, I'm the front end and
Plenty
you're the
to
back
do,
end.
believe me. Yeah. But I'm here. I'm here today.
Yes. So I was just telling everyone, so I'm just welcoming everyone who is here today. First time I'm doing a live with Andrew in a long time. I can't remember the last time we've done this. But I was just telling everyone here, Andrew, that we're going to be talking about this model, this catchphrase. I don't even know if it's a catchphrase, but it's something that we truly believe is something that teachers need to kind of like start considering, this idea that every teacher has a course in them. And it's funny because right before this, I was having a conversation with someone, and I think this is a good way for us to get started, because I was talking to this guy and I said, if a teacher fell into a coma in 2002 and he woke up in 2022, what would be the hardest thing to explain to them? So this is a question for you.
Wow.
And this
I
is a
like
question
that.
for everyone here who is watching this live. So if a teacher fell into a coma in 2002 and they woke up in 2022, so 20 years later, what
Right.
would be the hardest thing to explain to this teacher? So everyone, you can write your comments here and we will address them. But Andrew, what do you think?
Everything technology related, that learning can happen online, what Zoom is, what Microsoft Teams is, Google Classroom, like everything that you can be teaching people from anywhere in the world in the same classroom. And that sounds so ridiculous, but 2002, I was in high school, I think, yeah, and no technology. Like, do you remember when you got your first color computer in school?
Yes.
I
Actually, I
remember the
didn't use
first.
computers in school. We didn't use computers in school. We had to go to like
Okay.
a computer lab. Yeah.
I remember I was in so before 2002, but in like grade 3 was when we first we were able to use a computer, and it wasn't an Apple, it was a Macintosh black and white, like box computer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 2002 is like that version for me versus like what online teaching is now, where there's no brick and mortar necessarily. The only option of a classroom, of you can use technology. Like, look at what like pandemic responses around the world for like elementary schools and high schools, hybrid teaching, like teachers on screen, students in the classroom, students at home, teachers in the classroom alone on a screen projection. Like, you can't even explain that to me now, let alone 20 years ago.
I'm waiting for responses. I was going to say that if a teacher fell into a coma in 2002 and they woke up today in 2022, what would be the hardest thing to explain to them? I think the hardest thing to explain to them is that a lot of teachers don't want to work for schools anymore. A lot of teachers now, because there are really, really good teachers out there who just don't want to be limited to the constraints of working for a school that is basically telling them how to do things. Or even worse, schools that are basically asking them to create courses, which is
Mm-hmm.
the reason why we're saying that every teacher has a course in them, asking teachers to create courses and then keep those courses, because it has happened to me. It's happened
Actually,
to me.
that's funny. Maybe I'll make an addendum to what you just said. Maybe not that. I think maybe whatever job forever, people have always wanted to not do it. But now that the 2022 version is that not only can teachers don't have to work for schools, but it's actually a viable and feasible option
Mm-hmm.
not to. It's not just this pie in the sky kind of idea, that what if dream kind of scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of interesting. I'm not going to say any names because whatever, but I was just talking to a teacher the other day who verbatim said what you just said, that she wants to design her own program because she's already done it. And every school and company that she goes to, one of the deals that they put forward is that we get to use your material and then it will become part of
Mm-hmm.
the school's property. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. Why would I give this to you for free, my work?
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to learn how to consolidate, put it together in terms of a package and sell it to her own clients, her own students.
Right, right. And this is what you're saying is so true, because I don't know you, but I remember when I was a director of studies and I was working at this very specific school, in the afternoon, we had what we call elective classes. And every
Right.
teacher had to create their own elective classes. But eventually, what happened at the end was that the school would keep all of that curriculum. The school would create all of those courses. And even though those teachers had some experience creating those courses, the school was the one who kept them all, you know. And what we see now is a shift, is a change, because every teacher has other kinds of interests beyond teaching that they can kind of bring into their own program and kind of like design something
Right.
more or less like that, right?
Well, think about it from the school's perspective. Like, it's a really good idea if you get teachers on board. Like, they pay the teacher whatever, pick a number,
i'm
pay.
i'm paying you
Leo,
i'm paying you a very low salary.
but imagine, like, okay, Leo, I'll pay you $500 to make this course on this, like, whatever, right? And then what does the school do? They go and make like $100,000 on what they paid you. So is that a good? That's a good trade for the school. I'll give you
It
500, and
is.
then I get 100,000 back, right? So it makes sense. But why not consolidate your expertise as the teacher instead of making a quick $500? Why don't you then consolidate it, create it? You're creating it anyway, and then
Yeah.
do something with it on your own.
Yeah. And I think this is what teachers really need to kind of start understanding, is that if you work for a school, if you're basically donating or selling your time to a school, you're never going to be able to grow. You're never going to be able to making teaching or yeah, you're never going to be able to make teaching a lucrative profession for yourself, because you and I, we know this because we've always, for a very long time, we always worked for someone, and we never really had a chance to kind of like, let's do things on our own terms based on the things that we like doing and see what happens. And eventually, I feel like we've made it. We've made it, not fully yet, because I still think we're going to grow, but I think that's the future of education looks like. The future of education is where teaching will become an extremely lucrative profession. Salaries will follow some sort of a power law. And of course, the best teachers will make thousands of dollars per year and teach thousands of students every year. And this is already happening. You're not limited to teaching 5 students, 10 students, 15 students in one classroom for a short period of time, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And then this gets into like what is a course? What does a program look like? If I'm a teacher and every teacher has a course in them, so what do I have? What does that look like? What's
Mm-hmm.
when you envision a course, Leo, what do you think of?
Oh, I've envisioned so many courses. Like usually when I think about this notion of this idea that we have that every teacher has a course, I mean, we can't do justice to this because everything that we talk about in the program is going to help teachers get to this level. So whatever I say here in this live is just a little appetizer of the larger meal that is waiting for
Amuse
people who
bouche,
actually.
you
That's
know?
right. For the meal that people are expected to have if they take the teacher accelerator program. But the quick answer is that a very good teaching course follows the research on motivation, basically how humans learn, which is something that we talk about in the course, what it means to learn deeply. And I think the third one is how best to foster this kind of learning. The idea of the course will come naturally to you, but what's more important is you need to create a course that follows these three things: research on motivation, how humans learn, and what it means to learn deeply in this case, and of course how best foster this kind of learning. So if you ask me what kind of course I wanted to create, when we work at the university, I created an entire course on English and philosophy.
You did.
And of course, the university kept the course.
I was going to say.
Because I created while I was working at the university. But of course, I took my own version of the course, and I can change a few things. And maybe one day I will release this course. Maybe. I don't have the time to do that now. But like I said, that's just one course. You know, I could create many more.
Why do you think education is always, not always, but usually the slower field to migrate to? Because selling courses is not like a novel concept. It's not a new thing. It's been around forever. If you look at tech and you want to learn how to code, there's lots of really awesome courses that you can take online by people who are experts in coding. You don't have to go to university to learn how to code anymore, right? You can do that. There's whole businesses, Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform where you can have a subscription, and there's courses by people. I've taken lots of courses on Skillshare on how to do video editing and podcast editing and all these kinds of things. But the teacher platforms are like italki and etc., where you go on, you find students, you teach them one-to-one, and you go on with your life. Why is education always the slower one in moving towards these kinds of ideas?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think because education is just very resistant to change. It's the opposite of an antifragile system. An antifragile system, this is a concept that I've learned from Nassim Taleb, and I love this. An antifragile system, or antifragility, is basically a system in which it is constantly increasing in its ability to thrive. So every time you get like some sort of stress, some sort of shock or noise or mistake, it learns from that, almost like an algorithm, versus an educational system where it's very much like, oh, we've been doing this for so long the same way. And I think, to go back to the teacher who was in a coma for 20 years, I think he won't see many changes in education. Like, you might see changes in the curriculum, but we're still trying to do...
But maybe not.
Kind of. We're still trying to recreate some of the things that we have been doing for many, many years. You still see students learning from a textbook. You still see all the focus being so much on the teaching and not so much on the learning. Teachers at the center stage. I mean, not many changes there.
The phrase that's very common in education in these kinds of conversation is, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. People say that all the time, but maybe we do. You know what? Maybe there's a different wheel that we can use. Yeah,
no, for sure. So my question to you then is, because we're talking about this idea that every teacher has a course in them, what does that mean to a teacher who is currently working for a school? Because let's look at our context, or the context of teachers that we have been speaking to. A lot of these teachers, they are either working for a school where they're probably not making a lot of money. What's in it for them to create a course? Or a second scenario for us here would be a teacher who is I love how your definition of a freelancer, that there's nothing free in freelancing.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive. We can actually break that down. But first, let's talk about the first case, which is a teacher working for a school, selling their hours, right? Because you're working 6-7 hours for a school. You don't have time. So what's in it for them?
I think breaking it down in terms of a course or a program, it's a means to an end, right? So it's how you get to where you want to be. So like the first question is like, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a teacher? What lifestyle do you want for yourself? What does it look like? How many hours per week do you work? Who are your students? What do you do on the weekends? Do you drink coffee? Do you go for runs? Do you read books? Like, what do you want for yourself? And this is very like philosophical, obviously, but like, and then what kind of teaching and business allow you to have the lifestyle that you want? And for us, having a course is very conducive to having that kind of lifestyle and having that kind of business because of the reasons that you're kind of talking about. I like to talk about these things in terms of having a job versus having a business. Right?
What is the difference then? Having a
right?
job versus
So let me ask you a couple of questions. These are rhetorical, of course, right? But if you need to show up to get paid, do you have a job or do you have a business? Right?
It's a good question. Let people think about that one. Let people think about that one. So what's the question? Can you repeat the question?
Sure. If you need to show up, if you need to be there in order to get paid, do you have a job or do you have a business?
Right. Okay.
If you charge by the hour, do you have a job or do you have a business?
Even if you charge a lot of money, you still have...
When you buy an iPhone, do they charge you by the hour?
No.
Do you pay per the hour that you use the phone?
That's right.
No.
Yeah, you pay like a huge
phone.
value. Yeah, but of course it's you can see the value in the phone. That's just why people pay. What? How much is an iPhone now? I don't even know. It's like
$1,500 or something. I don't know.
Then how much is an iPhone? $2,000.
Okay.
Yeah, like the latest version. Yeah.
Okay.
So you pay $2,000. Yeah.
So what if we go into the Apple store and we say, Leo, like I really want this iPhone. It's great. I will give you $20 an hour for 20 years. And they're going to laugh at you, right? Like it's not going to happen. So, right. So job versus business, right? Businesses, generally speaking, charge a flat fee for a product or a service, and they pay their employees by the hour. So if you get paid by the hour, which one of those are you? Are you an employee or are you a business owner?
That's right. Which is what happens with a lot of teachers working for private schools, working for schools in general. They're basically selling their most important asset, which is their time, in exchange for money. And actually what we said in the post on the Instagram page today, that post on, what was the post? The one on money, on time and money. Do you remember the one I posted today? What was the caption?
Nope.
Yeah, if you trade, I remember now. If you like, I forget things. I'm forgetting things these days. But if you trade your money for your time, not your time for your money, then you're going to run out of the first one first, right? Which one? You're gonna run out of time.
You're gonna run out of time.
Yes.
And when you think about, I was thinking about this today as I was thinking about like what we're gonna do here right now, and I was like, how much sense, I don't have an answer to this, I'm just going to throw it out here. Like, how much sense does it really make to gauge language learning, charging, experiencing from the student perspective, from the teacher's perspective on an hourly basis? Like, because that begs the question, like, well, then how many hours does it take to learn the language? Which there's no answer to that either.
Yeah.
So, like, does it even make sense at all to gauge any of this by hour?
Yes.
So when we talk about don't sell your time, we then, okay, well, great. I don't want to do that, but what should I be doing? And I know we talk about selling outcomes instead, right? When students say they want to learn the language, that's not a goal. That's not an outcome, right? What does that mean? There's a million different outcomes that could be possible, but that's the outcome that your course would help them to achieve, right? If, as a generic example, a student has failed the IELTS test 3 times, but their listening, reading, and speaking is excellent. They get 7 all the time, but they keep getting 5.5 on writing, for example, whatever. So they come to you, Leo, hey, I really need to get my writing from 5.5 to 7. There's the outcome, right? What's that worth to you? How much would you be willing to, what value do you put on that to move your 5.5 to a 7 so you can pass this test, so you can do the next thing that you want to do?
To that person, Andrew, there's no price. Like, they will pay whatever it takes to get them from that 5.5 to that 7. And that's basically what you're saying, is that's what we should be looking at, the outcome, the transformation, I guess.
Because flip it around to what, the conventional approach, and that student comes to you and you say, okay, great. Yeah, I love to work with you on your IELTS writing. I charge you $25 an hour. What do you say? Like, well, for how long? When do we finish? When am I going to get to 7? How long? How does that work? Right.
Yeah. That's true. So you need to have a very clear outcome from the beginning when you design your program. There's actually a very interesting comment here that I wanted us to address, which is from Michael, saying that the mindset of an entrepreneur and of a coworker are opposites. As a teacher, we struggle with a mindset of a teacher, not of a business owner or entrepreneur. What do you have to say about that?
It's interesting. I think, can't generalize about everybody, but I think those are the differences, right? Entrepreneur thinks about business only, not only, but predominantly, which is like data, money, bottom line, Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank, all of these things. It's not investable. Bad idea. Get out of my face,
Yeah.
Very direct. And teachers, maybe this is going back to the 20-year thing. Maybe this, I'm just thinking out loud, but maybe this is the big transformation that teachers have made in 20 years, is adopting an entrepreneurial mindset within the teaching realm. And what does that actually look like? Whereas conventionally, teachers teach in classrooms, you work for a school, you get paid a salary, you get paid by the hour, whatever, you have the job. Teaching wasn't entrepreneurial, Teachers always would tutor, maybe outside of work hours, a little bit of extra money, but more like a hobby, not so much as a business, right? You're not like committing to it. So I think this is where it has changed. And I think generally, I tend to agree with that comment, where as teachers, we our focus is still on the students. We want to help them, and that's very important. But sometimes we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? We can still have that, but also be paying attention to other areas that don't detract from my lifestyle and my balance. And courses, the way we do it, bring both of those worlds together. Like, no, you don't want to be only bottom line person, only money, only this, because you won't be able to have the affective attention on the students, right? But also, you don't want to be selling your time only, because you won't be able to have the lifestyle and the financial security that you're looking for. So a course blends those two worlds together quite nicely, I think.
And there are many different ways of actually creating that course, but I really like what you said. Some very interesting, because there's a comment here, I'm going to come back to this comment, but just to add to what you said, when you create a course, in order to create, because you don't want to create a course, you want to create an engaging learning experience with a very clear outcome. So I'm going to say this again. You don't want to just, like somebody asked a question here, oh, how about a student who says, I want to improve my speaking skills? How do you set a time limit? Like, improve my speaking skills. It's like
follow-up question.
It's like asking someone to say, like, hey, Leo, I want to improve my six-pack. Like, I have a six-pack. It's just not improved.
It's in the fridge.
It's in the fridge, right? It's hidden below, like a layer of winter fat,
This is understanding what students actually, like, what do they mean when they say that?
Right? So this is why you need to really, this is why I've been seeing a lot of videos here on Instagram of people saying, oh, you shouldn't do an experimental lesson. Oh, you shouldn't do, maybe you shouldn't, but you should host maybe a 10-15 minute conversation with this potential client, because you also have to see the student as a client. It's another mistake that I think a lot of teachers make. They only see them as a student. Oh, I'm here to help them. Yes, but this is a business too.
Hopefully.
This is a business too, and you have to make sure that you know exactly what they want, so you can actually create that outcome that you talked about. So in order to go back to your point now, in order to create this engaging learning experience with a very clear transformation, with a very clear outcome, the role of the instructor, the role of the teacher is optional, but the role of the learner is essential.
Love it. You gotta flip the switch, right? Or flip the script, or whatever the phrase is. With one-to-one lessons and you're teaching, the teacher assumes all of the risk. The student doesn't show up, you don't get paid, or you have a policy or whatever. But the student holds all the power. They send you a text, they send you a message. Oh, I'm busy today. Yeah. With a program, flip it around. The teacher doesn't assume the risk. The student has the accountability to go through their learning process.
Yes. Yes.
I was going to say something else, and now I forgot. What it was.
This is very true, because that's what I was thinking about, this whole idea. Because somebody asked me, like, oh, Leo, how much teaching do you have to do, or do you do in your own business? I'm like I said, the role of teaching for me is optional. I can teach a few times a week, but the way I've designed my own program with my own clients, my role is optional. The role of my students is essential. They have to be doing all the work if they want to get the transformation that we had agreed on.
The role of the teacher is a really important discussion point in this conversation. And it might be uncomfortable, but the reality, in my opinion, is that our role in the learning process is very small. We're not that important.
I agree.
I know a lot of teachers like to say that we're really important, and we're not unimportant, but we're not as important as a lot of us think that we are.
We are not essential. We are desired.
Yes.
There's a huge difference between the two.
Yes.
People are going to start leaving the live right now. Numbers are just going to start dropping. Yes.
But what do you think?
I agree with
if
that.
you think about anything else in the world, I was thinking about this today, actually, as an analogy. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but like cooking, right? If I want to learn how to cook, do I need a chef beside me every time that I want to practice cooking? Do I need the chef to show up, to turn on the stove, to turn on the oven, to get the burners exactly as they should be? And when that person is not in my house, it's impossible for me to cook. You know?
Yes.
One-to-one teaching is that the student can only learn during their one-to-one lesson with you. It's not true. They need help. They need guidance. They need scaffolded activity and tasks on a daily basis where you show them how to turn on the burner and what temperature it should be and how to stir your eggs and these things. But they have to do it, right? And you don't need to be there for it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because to go back to the idea of designing, so how do we get that into a course? When it comes to the design of this effective learning experience with a very clear outcome, I think sometimes even just asking one good question, and I usually tell teachers this, like whenever you're creating a course, think about one provocative question, because one provocative question is worth 100 proclamations. And when it comes to designing these learning experiences, it's not so much the information that you're going to be giving, but the designing of that experience in a way that actually makes it enjoyable for the students. And somebody asked a question here, how about feedback? You can still incorporate feedback in your course, but the feedback doesn't have to be immediate. You know, the feedback can be done.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like this is the thing, we always think that because I feel like we've been trained to look at feedback from a very specific perspective, whereas you can actually do feedback in many different ways. And we talk a lot about that in the program. The feedback doesn't have to be in real time all the time, right?
I think there's not a misconception. I think there's just an assumption that feedback means explicit correction. And that's one form of it. But feedback to me is just a learner noticing what isn't the way that it should be. And there's 100, and we have a whole podcast series on it. There's 100 different ways that can be. But for me, our role in that is to train them strategies of how to do that by themselves.
Yeah.
Because you say this all the time, I got this from you, like if a student still needs me to be there after X amount of time, I should refund all of their money.
Yes. You didn't
give
do a good
all the
job.
money back.
Yeah.
What was I doing?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything, right? If I can't cook after 10 classes with Gordon Ramsay, he's going to quit. He's not going to be a chef anymore, right?
Yeah.
If I still need
Yeah.
him to show up and yell at me.
And that's the value in the course, is that in 10 lessons, you're going to get this very specific, as you said, outcome. And if you don't get that outcome in 10 days, he knows he's done a bad job. Or you know that you didn't finish the course. And this is the thing too. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, "Oh, Leo, but some of the courses are cheaper." I'm like, "You should go ahead and take them." I don't take cheap courses. You know why? Because I'm never gonna study for the course. I'm never gonna open the course. Because there's no value. How much did you pay for this course? $25. I paid $5,000. We paid $10,000 for a course. That course, I'm gonna take it because I paid for it. I see the value in that course, and I think teachers have to think about the value of the outcome as well, the value of the experience, and this is how they can kind of like position their courses, position themselves in the market.
Yeah, and then the outcome is that question again, like what if when students say, I want to improve my speaking? That's a very common, like students say that all the time, right? Well, why? For what? What are you struggling with? What can't you do right now? And then all of those answers will inform what they actually need to improve their speaking for. Oh, that's right. I have to make presentations at work and people always make fun of me. Okay, great. There we go. Presentations at work. What topics do you have to present on? Okay, design one. Let's work on it next class. Done.
That's it. And the feedback doesn't have to be immediate. You could say, I want you to record yourself presenting just the introduction of your presentation. Send it to me. I'll send it back to you. Our next session, you have to, instead of spending time one-on-one, I want you to record the presentation again during the hour that we're supposed to meet. And you can upload it again, and I'm going to give you more feedback. And then you can do it live to me a second time.
And then self-assess. We train them how to self-assess, and you watch your own recording, and you tell me where you improved and what areas you still need to improve in.
That's right.
They tell me, let's see if what you said is the same as what my notes say. If they are the same, then we're on the right track, and let's go to the next step.
Exactly. And this is what Juju is saying here. The best feedback is the one that is the student knowing that he or she can learn by themselves. So,
of course.
And I think that's the point. I think this is the point that we're trying to make here, is that I really think that it's time for teachers to step up to the plate, start getting more passionate about their work, about their commitment to making these courses that, of course, courses that don't bore people to tears, but instead, because they're we've seen many courses. I've taken many courses that are horrible courses out there that are just really bad. You want to create a course that is going to inspire. You want to create a course that is going to motivate your students to learn that very specific problem that you're trying to solve, change a very specific behavior, or improve their performance, as you said, in terms of presentations. And actually, I have a very funny story to tell you, Andrew, because I'm working with a software engineer from Montenegro. And when we had our first meeting, he said to me that he wanted to improve his grammar. That was the first thing he said to me. Leo, I need to improve my grammar. I'm like, that's nothing special. That doesn't, you can just buy a book and improve your grammar by yourself. You don't need me for that. So eventually we had a conversation, and I started asking him questions. Eventually I found out that his English is better than he thinks it is, which is a lot of the cases with these people.
Yeah.
But he just didn't have the confidence. He just didn't know how to organize his ideas when he's speaking. And I said to him, okay, we're going to have 10 sessions where you should be able to get to this level of comfort. He wants to reach a level of spontaneity. He wants to feel like he can actually talk without having to spend too much time organizing thoughts.
Outcome. So then, like, with this person, if it were me, like this would be a question that I would ask them right from the beginning, because these are, I want to be more comfortable. I want to be more confident, right? Those are great.
What does that mean?
Those are great goals. So I would ask them right from the beginning, okay, we can work on that. Tell me this. How will you know when we have accomplished that?
Yeah.
What will you be able to do that you cannot do now that will show yourself that you're able to do that? And whatever the answer to that is the outcome that you're going to work with them.
But here's exactly, this is it. they are the ones who need to have clarity, not us. We don't need the clarity. It's clear for us. Who
Right.
needs to have clarity is the student, so they can actually think, oh yeah, right, yeah. But here's the best part, Andrew. 3 sessions in, of course, we talked a lot about pragmatic competence and point example explanation. That kind of blew his mind. By the 3rd lesson, he came to me, 3rd lesson, we signed up for 10. By
Right.
the 3rd lesson, he came to me and he said, Leo, man, I can totally see why people around me don't know how to communicate. They talk. They never have a clear point. They start by explaining. They never give me examples. Like, it's just a mess. And he's like, now I can see it. He's like, thank you. Like, this is exactly what I needed. Now I feel so much more comfortable because I know how to talk. And I said, okay, so we don't need the other 7 lessons then. Because we reached that within 3. And then, of course, he started laughing. But he said to me, he's like, can we continue practicing just this? I said, of course, that's what you said you wanted. So we're going to do that. But again, it's what you said. He was the one who recognized when he was feeling confident or comfortable or reaching that level of spontaneity that he wanted to. You have to make sure that the student, the client, knows that very well before you create
because when you ask them what they need or what they want to learn or whatever, they're not going to give you an honest answer. And it's not that they're lying, it's just they don't know.
Yeah.
Right? That person said, I need to improve my grammar. Well, that's actually not true.
No.
That's not true.
That's
I need to improve my speaking. That's not true, right?
Yeah.
So you have to dig down, right? I work with one of the heads of DHL for North and South America, and I'm working with him on how to sell his ideas to the global team, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, people always say to me, like, yeah, it seems like a good idea, but I need to think about it, whatever. And so we're working on things together. Because he's like, I need outcomes. I need this, right? And I'm like, okay. So when they say, I need to think about it, like, what do you say? He's like, okay, well, let's talk about it next meeting or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, there's a problem.
Okay.
So when they say that they need to think about it or they're concerned about this idea, just ask them, okay, what specifically are you concerned about? And then they tell you. And then you can address it right on the spot. And so now he's saying, like, he's using this all the time. And he's like, okay, so what specifically concerns you? What specifically do you need to think about in terms of this project? And then they don't know. And they give a couple of things. And then he said, well, perfect. That's great. Thank you. So number 1, to address your first point, we're doing this. To address your second point, we can do this. And then they just say something like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Do you have any other concerns? Nope. Okay, so we can move forward with this? Yep, great. And then the case is closed, right?
That's right.
When people say vague things, I need to think about it. I want to improve my speaking. I need to improve my grammar. It's not wrong. It's just, it's not at a level where we need to dig a little bit, ask some follow-up questions, find out exactly what they need to do.
Some comments here, Andrew. One saying that we tend to think that students need us, as you said, but they don't. We tend to spoon feed them and not prepare them to be more autonomous, which is exactly the example with the kitchen. Like, you don't want to have the chef beside you cooking with you all the time. I don't want
unless
that.
It's Gordon Ramsay. Unless it's Gordon Ramsay. But I think that's our fault, right? Like,
it is 100%.
Students want to be spoon-fed if we allow them to be spoon-fed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If we just flip the script, this is an objection we get a lot, right? Where teachers say to us, like, yeah, but my students would never go for that. My students would never let me teach dogme without preparing. They would never do asynchronous self-study work. Well, have you tried? Have you asked them? Yeah. Have you pitched it in a way that makes sense? Of course, they're not going to go for it if you say, just in your own time, just watch some YouTube videos, watch some Netflix, and come back next week. Like, obviously not. But in a certain way, of course, if it makes sense and it helps them achieve an outcome, of course they will go for it.
Yeah.
The reason why they say no initially is because for some reason, this is not very common in our industry. It's one-to-one teaching, it's private lessons, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why teachers need to have a course in them, because as you said, a lot of teachers say to, I remember you telling me this, teachers come to us and they say, oh, I want to stop teaching one-to-one and I want to teach groups.
Yes. Why?
Why do you want to teach? Why can't you just not teach one-to-one? Maybe you can have a few one-to-ones, a few groups, but you can also
Groups are
have,
even worse, in my opinion. I hate groups are even worse. Like fantasy, great. Put 4 people in a room, charging the same price, make more money, obviously. Logistically, nightmare. Never happens. Like you never get 4 people, different time zones, different day. Like it's never going to happen, right?
And you're only reaching 4 people, 6 people, 8 people.
Yeah.
What if you could reach 100 students? It is something that you told me once. Is like, okay, I have to, like, I was talking to a teacher this afternoon, and she said, oh, Leo, I have about 20 students. And I said, okay, and you teach one-to-one? And she said, yes. And I was like, oh man, 20 students. And I said, do you send them homework? And she said, yes. And I was like, okay, do you mark their homework? And she said, yes.
Wow.
And do you have to prepare those sessions? She's like, yeah, I have to prepare some of those lessons. So I'm like, you're basically working like a 60-hour week or something. She's like, I work like 45 to 50 hours. She's like, I make good money, but I'm burnt out.
How sustainable is that?
Yeah. That's the $1 million question. How sustainable is that for 5 years, for 10 years?
10, 20. I mean, some people can do it for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10, but how long can you do it? 1, how long do you want to do it? 2, we talk to teachers all the time. I just talked to one earlier today, same kind of sentiment, but I teach 20 hours per week and I spend another 20 hours per week preparing for those classes. So I said, well, how much do you charge per hour? And she said, this much. Let's just say $10, just for the sake of argument, right? Easy math. $10 per, okay, so you make $200 a week from teaching your lessons. How much money are you losing per week? Because you prepare 20 hours, you're losing another. So 50% of your income, your potential earnings is gone.
Yeah. Because
you're spending that much time. You could double your earnings just by taking away your lesson preparation. You don't have to change anything else.
It's amazing, eh? People don't realize how much they are like the cost of inaction, the cost of not learning how to create a course. I think it's more expensive than the money that is actually more. It's costing them a lot more, as you said. Huh?
How expensive is it to stay where you are? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Very expensive. Very expensive, I would say. There's a comment here by Bruno saying, students are often unaware of what they need and they tell us what they want, which ends up becoming secondary. Their needs are usually deeper than they can see.
Perfect. That's our role. We need to help them see that, right?
Yeah.
We need to help them see that. But also, Leo, you like, oh, sorry, is there another comment?
No, I thought there was another comment here, but there isn't. Yeah.
You like to, because with a program, we're designing a course, there is some, obviously there is a little bit of narrowing in what, the amount of, not the amount, the type or demographic of student that you would be working with. Because we work with lots of teachers who teach beginners and advanced students and kids and adults and teenagers and like, you name it, they teach them, right? With the program, it would be targeting, as you like to say, I like this a lot, where your program will be targeting someone, not everyone.
Yes. I like that a lot. Because it's, well, I mean, we can apply this to the dating world, to dating apps. People are looking for, they're trying to date everyone. You can't. Realistically, it's impossible. You have to find someone. And I feel like people don't.
That's expensive too.
It's expensive, right? And I feel like people don't use prompts properly, and they don't, they're not able to find that, because you might be looking for a person that matches certain specific attributes or certain specific characteristics. And you need to have that very clear in your mind. So when you are filtering through people, or people are filtering or looking at your profile or whatever, they're going to know that this person is, maybe there's some compatibility here. But what we're not doing is, it's what you said. Oh, I teach IELTS, I teach TOEFL, I teach general English, I teach English for nebulous purposes, I teach I teach telephone English. I teach email English. Like you can't
Cooking in
teach
English,
cooking English. You
whatever.
can't teach all of those things, you know? And this is why you don't have a business. This is why you can't create a course, you know?
Because
And
we, as the teacher, we think of that as I'm expanding my areas that I can work in and I could earn some more money. But flip it around from the client perspective. They're looking at you and your profile and say, well, this person, by doing everything, they do nothing.
yeah,
They don't specialize in anything. Why would I want to
jack
work
of
with
all
that
trades,
person,
right?
right?
Jack of all trades, master
Yes.
of none. Yeah.
There's enough people that want to improve a certain language element that you can focus on something specific and find enough people for the rest of your life. Like,
Yeah.
there's no worry about that. Even within TOEFL, you could focus just on TOEFL writing if you wanted to. Like, there's enough even just there. Even just task one if you
Yeah.
really wanted to. I don't know if I would
Yeah.
recommend it, but you could. But you could. That would not be for me, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And if you think about it, I was even looking at some profiles of teachers like, oh, I can help you develop your speaking skills. That's too general. That's too
yep.
general. There are millions of people that can help
What
you
does that
with this.
mean?
What does
Because
that
when
mean?
students read it, when a student looks at your profile, they have to make in an ideal world, they make a split-second decision that we think is perfect.
Yeah.
The first one is, okay, yes, Leo can help me with this. The other is, no, Leo cannot help me with this.
Yeah.
If the yes or no is not clear, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
If it's maybe, if it's I'm not sure, then that's bad.
Yeah.
You want it to be clear.
You
right?
want, as you said, you want a fuck yeah or a hell no.
Yes.
You want that. Yes, that's the guy. Or fuck no, this is now hell no, not this person. So this is kind of what you want. And we're not good at creating that. Teachers are not really doing a very good job of trying to really create that very specific course in them. Because as I think we know this, we have one of the teachers in our program, and he's really into meditation, mindfulness, you know, using like reducing anxiety in learning. And I said, dude, like you can create an amazing course where you can actually learn English in a stress-free environment, for example.
That would be amazing.
You know, like learn how to take your time to actually develop very specific skills that you want to develop. But again, that's his jam. That's what he wants to do. But that's not what I want to do.
Exactly.
That's
and that's why it would work. People
yeah.
have different interests. So,
yeah.
you know, as recommendations, people always ask us, like, what would I do? I don't know. But what do you like? What are you good at? What, on a practical level, like the students that you do work with currently, like what gravitates them towards you? What are the most common things that you help people with? If it's presentations, then maybe there's a course about presentations, or maybe it becomes a little bit bigger to, let's just like business communication. But then maybe you find that's a bit too, now it's too big again, and you can make it. And I think there's a misconception that you design a course and it's done and forever. There's always iteration. There's always making it better, always getting feedback. It's an ongoing process.
I was going to say that. How many times have we been constantly working on our courses? We never created the course once and we said, it's done. No, we're constantly updating it, which is a mistake that a lot of private schools, a lot of universities make. They create the program once and it's done. It's just shoveling it down students' throats. 2022, exactly. So if you are going to get into the course creation business, you really have to have that in mind. You will need to be constantly updating your course based on the feedback that you're going to be receiving from people. And this is why, Andrew, I'm learning a lot. I've been working now. It's been almost 5 months now. I've been working in the tech industry, working with software engineers, man. And these guys are amazing because everything they do is they do this thing called A/B testing. So they create something like a very short model of the product. They release it, they get feedback, they iterate it, they pivot sometimes, you know, and then they release it again. And they're like, oh, the feedback is great. Okay, good. Now I'm going to release the second part. And then they test it again. And it's kind of how we've designed the Teacher Accelerator program, because we've created the first version. And then even recently, I think you kind of like went back and you made some changes based on the feedback that we have
Mm-hmm.
received from some of the course participants, right?
Of course, yeah. More stuff coming next week on earlier parts of the program that we're refining, because very simply, like, perfection is the enemy of action, right? If you wait for something to be perfect, you're never going to do it. So
Yes.
do it. It's going to be flawed. Make it better later. Listen to
Yeah.
feedback. Make it better later. Yeah, just get in there. Don't be afraid. There was a line I saw today that I really liked, and I'm
Mm.
forgetting it now. But it was something like, feel the fear and do it anyway, or
Mm.
something like this. Yeah, doing something for the first time is stressful, and maybe you're afraid, or maybe you have some apprehensions, but do it
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah. And I think this is the same thing I was telling a teacher the other day. Like, the first step towards getting somewhere, like even closer to where you want to be, is just to decide that you're not going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like having this very clear understanding that I don't want to be where I am right now, it's enough for you to make that first step. And what is then, Andrew, the first step for teachers who want to learn more about, the course that they have in them? How can we help them?
Yeah, I think that we want to hear from anyone who thinks that they have a course in them. We hope that's everybody. I mean, having a course in you just means that you're passionate about something and you have knowledge about something, which we know everybody does. And if you really want to kind of see what that might look like, putting that together, the initial stages, we'd love to chat with you. And we have free calls that we do with anyone who wants to talk about building their first course, where we just get on a call
Mm-hmm.
on Zoom, and we just chat with you one to one, and we see what your ideas are, and see if what you're looking to do is a good fit for what we do with the program, and then we can
Mm-hmm.
decide together if you'd like to be a part of it, and to really take that to putting it into action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the most important thing for those of you who are watching this. The Teacher Accelerator Program is not a program that is open for everyone. We need to, like as Andrew said, we need to have a conversation with you, try to understand what your current situation is, where you want to get. And if we feel like you would be a good fit for the program, we would make a formal invitation and invite you to join us. And we have a community of creators, of great teachers who are also in the same boat, kind of like creating their own courses. They all have a course in
Yeah,
them. We're just trying to get them to build it, which is the hard part. But once you build once, sell twice,
proof of
three times.
concept, right? Also sell it before you build it, because don't waste time building something that nobody wants. If you build it, they will come is not true in course design.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. If you build,
Sell
they
it
won't come.
first. They
Sell it
won't come.
first. Yes, sell it first.
Sell it first, get your proof of concept, then build it
And we
later.
teach that in the
That's very
course as
important.
well. We teach how to
Yes,
create a proof of concept and all that. Yeah, yeah. Um,
for sure.
we didn't finish the first part of the conversation, which is
We never do,
what's
yeah.
the course that you have in you? If you were to create a course, what would that course be?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow. I don't know. That's a very good question. Well, I guess like the three of us, we're creating a course on how to build a course, so that's one,
It's very
right?
meta. It's a very meta course.
If I was going to do another one, it wouldn't be anything to do with language, just to have variety in my
Mm,
life. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know. Maybe something about writing, creative writing.
mm,
Maybe something about audio editing, which I really like. I'm very like nerdy in that
yes.
sense. Get my headphones on and like get very anal about details. Video editing, I'm not as bad. Video editing is way harder. Like I try it, I do it for us, but it's not as fun. It's way harder.
Right.
Like I can't do that. I would really like to learn about audio production. So I don't know
Mm,
anything about it. Editing, sure. Audio production. Like I'm always really curious about audio. So like when you watch something on TV, or you like watch a concert, or you watch, podcast now is like all video and stuff as well. So like everything that's hooked up and the microphones that are there that don't have any wires, like How do they record the sound? Where does it
Yeah.
go? How do they
Yeah.
capture it? How does it sound so good? Like I would love to learn, like, you know, the Taylor Swift thing on Disney where she filmed her recording of that album, and they had
Yes.
all the microphones and the guitars and everything was in like a cabin. And I was watching it and I was like, all I was thinking was like, how did they capture the audio? How did they do that? That's so
Yeah.
cool. I would love to learn how to do that.
So that's it. That's a course right there. Maybe there is a
Yeah,
course out there. And
I'm sure there is.
how much would you pay for a course like that?
If I was going to implement it and like do that, I would want to learn it. So there would be no
Yeah.
value on that or no price on that. Like this is the question that we need to get past too, right? Are you focused on the price of something or the value of something?
Exact. Oh, I think this is a good point for us. The last point maybe we should talk about value and price. And it's very interesting because very recently I sold a program to an entrepreneur. Actually, he's an entrepreneur based in Israel, and he said, Leo, I need to do a lot of pitches in English. I need to improve my persuasion skills or my persuasive skills. And I said, okay, I can help you with that. I told him
Right,
the price, which was well way beyond what I usually charge. And I said,
right,
this is the price. He didn't even hesitate. He's like, all right, when do we start? I said, this date. And that course itself pays for like all my bills in a month. One course, 10 lessons with this guy. But again, I'm not selling 10 individual sessions of general English. I'm not
right,
selling 10 individual sessions
right.
of improve your speaking skills.
Don't
I'm
charge by
telling,
the hour.
I'm not charging by the hour. I'm charging him for, you're going to be able to do this. This is the outcome that you're going to have at the end of these 10 lessons. And I was a little cocky too, because I said to him, if at the end of the 10 lessons, you don't feel like you've experienced the transformation that you told me that you're going to know you have experienced it, then I said, I'll give you your money back. And he looked at me
Right,
and he's like, really?
right.
I said, yeah. So you just have to be honest with me, but you also have to
Exactly.
trust yourself. Because if I
Exactly.
don't do that in 10 sessions, then I have to give him the money back.
We just need some more confidence as teachers, right? Like think about
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in this kind of concept or thinking about designing a course or like maybe you think you could design a course but the business side like gives you anxiety or whatever. Just like think about all the businesses that you can think of in regular society, right? If your car breaks down and the tow truck comes to pick you up on the side of the road, do they tell you, okay, it's $100 to tow it to the garage, or do they tell you, okay, it's $5 per kilometer, and then you say, oh, I'll give you $15, and then you go 3 kilometers, and then they stop driving because, like, no, it's a fee to do a service.
That's
The
right.
outcome is move my car from the highway to the
Yes.
garage. When you get to the garage, do they tell you it will cost this hundreds of dollars to fix your car, or do they say we could like half fix it and stop in $30 an hour? And like,
Yeah.
no, they
No.
fix like you want it fixed, or you don't want it fixed. It's the outcome.
Yeah.
Every business has this, right? Businesses charge for a service and pay their employees by the hour. Which one do you want to be?
That's right. That's right. So this is why we have to let people know that if they want to be part of the Teacher Accelerator program, if they want to start developing this entrepreneurial mindset, if they want to stop working for private schools, if they want to start, more importantly, creating their own course, because we believe every teacher has a course in them, what do they need to do?
Book a call with us. So there's a link in our bio on Instagram in the link tree there. I forget exactly what it says, but it says something like schedule a free call with us. Just click on that. It'll take you to a page to book a call, choose the time, and confirm the meeting. And we'll happy to talk with you about the course that we know you have in you. If you don't think you have a course in you, look a little further because we know you do. Everyone has a passion about something. Everyone has expertise in something. And, another notion we need to get past is that we have to be an expert in order to design something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly you need to be, you need to know what you're talking about in your area, but you don't have to be like, you don't have to have a TED Talk in order to make a course about something. You can make it about anything that you know about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, you just need to be passionate and you need to know enough about the subject matter that you're thinking about creating a course on. But nothing that we cannot help you with, because we can show
Of
you how to
course.
do research skills. We can show you how to create Like you have to, how do you start creating the program, how to conceptualize. Actually, we're
If
creating
you
this. Yeah.
if you don't know something, like you can learn it. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a finite, like, oh, I don't know how to cook, so I can't eat. Like,
Yeah.
well, you can learn how to cook, so it's okay.
Before we wrap it up, we're going to open the floor for a few questions. If you are a teacher watching this live and you have any questions that you would love to ask us, please type them up in the comments here and we're going to be reading them. I have one here,
Let's do
Andrew,
it.
from Rania or
Sure.
Rania, saying, is this program only for people who have a degree?
No,
It's quite
no,
the opposite, I would say. Quite the
not at
opposite.
all. Not at all. It's for we don't focus on that. It's for anyone who wants to build a course to get away from only teaching one-to-one, have more financial stability, and fulfill their vision for themselves as an educator, whatever that case is. So
Yeah.
regardless of anything else, degree, no degree, whatever.
It's funny because one of the teachers that I talked to this week asked me like, oh, do we get a certificate at the end of the program? And I looked at
Sakes.
her and I said, okay, listen, I almost flipped out, by the way. I almost ended the call right there. I said to her, we are this, like, one of the pillars of our educational philosophy, or of our philosophy of education, is that what we teach in our programs is not for a test, number one. It's not for a certification, number two. It's not for a freaking diploma. No. Our measure of success is real world action. You will have a business, you will have a product, you will have a course. That's the real measure of success for us. So if
Your
you're looking
certificate is the outcome.
yeah, so if you want the certificate is going to be the course, the business that you will create, but we're not going to give you a piece of paper that just shows you that you've completed a course and you have no practical outcome out of that. There's no real world action coming out. Because if you think, I've been thinking a lot about this, Andrew. What is the real world action of a diploma, of a certificate?
I don't know.
I was
I
thinking
guess
about
you
that.
show it to, I mean, I know there are some schools that give, I don't know if they give pay raises or they give reimbursements for programs or courses
Reimbursement
that
is
people
different,
take
yeah.
or something like that. But I don't know.
But why
But
would you take a course just to get a certificate? That's my
that
question.
I don't know. Okay. That I don't know. That I don't know. Because that's not, well, for me, that's not the outcome that I would be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're outcome-based program. The outcome is design your program, reduce your lesson planning, get more students, and also learn about teaching. We haven't even talked about that, but how to design a program and learn about task-based learning and dogma
Mm-hmm.
and all these other approaches that from 2002 have
Mm-hmm.
become more prominent as
Yeah.
well. To be more confident in that. So just like the student outcome of presentations or whatever, that's their certificate, that's their outcome. They can do a thing that they couldn't do before.
Yeah.
The outcome of our program is that teachers can do something or feel more confident doing something that they felt they couldn't do previously.
Exactly. So Rania, to go back to your question, you can take the program if you want. You won't, and you said why you laughed, like I said something funny. Oh, we were not laughing at what you said. We were laughing at the whole certificate thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was nothing to do with your comment. But yeah, to answer your comment, that's basically it. So Andrew, I think we should call it a day here, man. It's Friday.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
Friday. I'm pretty tired now. 2 lives in a week, man. I can't, like, people ask
I
for
don't know
more
how you
lives in
do it.
March, and they asked for more lives. That's what people voted. They said, well, we want more lives, Leo. More lives and learn your English. I'll try, but like this stuff is draining, man. It's draining. But
It is.
we like doing
It
this.
is.
We like doing this. And one of the things I wanted to wrap up our conversation, before we wrap up our conversation, 2 things. If you are a teacher, we know you have a course in you, as Andrew said. Just if you don't think you do, just dig deeper. I'm sure you're going to find it. And once you have an idea or even a vague idea, come talk to us. If you are a teacher who also wants to spend way less time planning, come talk to us. And if you're interested, just let us know. Oh yeah, I remember the comment, the last comment. I talked to a teacher today, and she said to me, "Oh, I'm not sure I can keep up. I'm worried about failing the program." I was like, first of all, you don't fail the program. And I told her, I was like, there is actually a lot more to be said about failure, because I think failure is more interesting than success, if you ask me.
I like the word iterate.
Mm.
Because iterate is you fail and then you iterate and you get better. And if the expectation is just to be really good at something, again, it's outcome based, right? Outcome, get market feedback. People like it, people don't like it. You make it better, you keep going.
Yeah.
And that's the philosophy. And the last misconception I just want to throw in is because a lot of people we talk to, when we say the word course, I get a response sometimes where people might say, yeah, but my students would never learn asynchronously or just by themselves. So how we promote course design is, you blend your live lessons that you're already doing with other pillars of course design. So it's not sending your students off into, an online ecosystem by themselves. You're still there with them, but you're combining different elements that has value for you and for them.
That's the key point. There are many different ways of creating this course that is not just asynchronous. We're looking at a bunch of different models that you can actually use when implementing this course. And I think students coming out of these, I would like to call them super courses. And I think the students coming out of these super courses, what's going to happen is they're going to be taking control of their own education and driving themselves to think through all of the major implications, applications, and possibilities of what they're learning. And I think that is the beauty of learning how to design courses. It's honestly, I think it's one of the most important skills teachers need to learn to develop.
Outcome-based learning, not about numbers, not about grades or A1 level, A2 level, B2. Like, can you do this thing that you need to do? Yes, no, sort of. Yes. And then let's go.
Yes. There's a comment here from Fernanda saying, what's the word, Andrew? Fernanda Queiroga IELTS. What's the word, Andrew? I don't know what she means by that.
What's the word? I don't know. The bird? The bird is the word? I don't know.
The bird is the word, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. She said, what's the word, Andrew? I don't know. That's what she said here.
Does that just mean to say hello? Is that hello, Fernanda? Yeah. I guess. What's going on?
Yeah. So, Andrew, we're going to come back. Actually, on Tuesday, I have a live, so I'm just going to wrap it up. But on Tuesday, I have a live with a teacher who is in the program. And we're going to be talking about Dogme. So he's going to be another guest in the Dogme ELT live series. All right. We're getting to episode 10. Hopefully,
another surprise.
Coming to an end soon, because I thought that was going to be just like three videos that eventually became like, now we're 10 lives. Like, it's an entire Dogme course for free. For free. I can just repackage that and then sell it as a course, I guess. That's not how it works.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, could be an Instagram course.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we have a message here from Mars that says, Leo, I'm 100% sure I've been to a workshop presented by you in St. Louis at Senac. Probably, Mars. I don't remember that. If you could remind me of the details, I will, because I've aged ever since. And as you age, your memory also doesn't get any better. Yeah. Anyway, Andrew, man, thanks a lot for coming in. I'm pretty sure people who are here today are very happy to see you, because they always say, "Oh, we only see Leo. We only see Leo." I said, "It's because I'm at the front end, and you guys are at the back end. That's it. It doesn't mean you guys are not part of the community. I want people to know that."
I'm in the DMs. I'm in the DMs. And when I respond to people, it's not Liz.
Yes.
They always have to say it's Andrew.
Andrew is responsible. So if you're sliding into our DMs, you're sliding into Andrew, not me. I don't need to check the DMs. I'm the one who's like showing my face here and telling stories all the time. But I think people will probably vote for this. They want to see more of you in the stories, talking about your entrepreneurial insights. I'm pretty sure everyone here would benefit a little more from that.
Okay. Well, we can talk about it.
All right, folks. We're gonna call it a day. It's been a great week. I hope that everyone had learned something, and maybe there's a couple of important takeaways from this conversation. And once again, if you have a course in you, we want to chat with you. Come
book a call, link in the bio.
That's
free
right.
meeting. Let's talk for about a half an hour. We'll figure out what you want to do, and if we can work together, we'll figure it out. But either way, you'll leave a meeting with an idea of a concept for a course that you could make.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Happy Friday.
Cheers. Flannel Friday. There we go.
Take it easy. See you, Andrew.
See ya.